answer at the end of this introduction to the lower house. On the agenda, the State of the Constituency debate continues with Member of Parliament for St. James Southern, Mr. Homer Davis. Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Southwestern, Dr. Angela Brown Burke. Member of Parliament for Clarendon Northwestern, Mr. Phillip Henriques. And Member of Parliament for Clarendon North Central, Mr. Robert Morgan. The idea behind the State of the Constituency debate is that members of Parliament will be given the opportunity to not only tell the story of their performance in their constituencies, but also get the support of the Ministry of Finance to implement planned projects. According to the Standing Order Committee, this debate should take place in the third quarter of the year prior to the budget call. It was also agreed that the debate should be concluded within a period of 6 weeks from September to the end of October. The constituency debate should help to improve constituents' awareness of the specific MPs, their policies and their general activities that's happening directly and indirectly that affects them and their community. These debates can play an important role in aiding the deliberation of voters and consequently strengthening the democratic process. It should be noted that the agenda can be adjusted, with items being added, removed, or replaced. If you are planning to attend a parliamentary session, here are some rules you should keep in mind. No visitor shall create any act of disorder within the precincts of the House. No visitor shall be admitted to the House without first obtaining an admission card from the office of the clerk. Visitors who remain within the precincts of the House during a suspension of the session are asked to keep silent. It's almost time to go to the main event, but before that, let's get the answer to the trivia question. We asked, true or false, the quorum of the House and of a committee of the whole House shall consist of 16 members, besides the presiding person. It's true. In fact, according to the standing orders, if at any time during the sitting of the House, objection is validly taken by any member that there is not a quorum present, the person presiding shall direct members to be summoned, and if at the end of 5 minutes a quorum be not present, he shall adjourn the House without question put. Before we go, here are a few more interesting things about the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. It's responsible for a number of agencies and departments, including the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Cinematograph Authority Entertainment Board, the Institute of Jamaica, and all the national museums, galleries and libraries. Independence Park Limited, Institute of Sports, Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission, the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO, Jamaica National Heritage Trust, National Commission on Reparations, and the Sports Development Foundation. The ministry's focus is wide. It includes arts and culture, cultural and creative industries, entertainment, gender affairs, heritage, publications like legal deposits, national commemorative events like labor, emancipation, independence, National Heroes Days, reparations, and sport. The proceedings will begin in a few moments.
Something is happening for someone in this country every single day as a result of the actions of this government. The beneficiary of this house and the
social media platforms and those joining us in the gallery today. Welcome you all heartily. Members also with us this afternoon in the gallery are interns, 2 interns, students from the University of the West Indies who are participating in the Parliamentary internship program for the academic year 2022 to 2023. I just want to tell you, they are not first-year students, as you will hear. They are students who have passed the junior stage because they are students now doing their masters at the University of the West Indies, and they are available to assist and support us as members in conducting specific and general research upon your request. So you can meet them, and there is Miss Anastasia Balfour, who is currently completing her 5th year of the France Caribbean program in partnership with the University of the West Indies and the Université des Antilles in Martinique and Sciences Po Bordeaux in France. I don't know if my pronunciation was good. In France, and her studies include a bachelor's degree in political science and another in politics and international cooperation. She also has a master's degree in international politics and is currently pursuing another in politics and international cooperation. Also with us is Mr. Aaron Hoylett, and he is a master's student who is currently pursuing a degree in international development and policy management. He has also attained his undergraduate degree in management studies and marketing with first-class honors. He has experience in conducting empirical research for sustainable socio-economic development in the Caribbean. He was one of the researchers and authors of a study published in a book titled Regenerative and Sustainable Futures for Latin America and the Caribbean, which dealt with prospective sustainable policies and actions for socio-economic recovery in Jamaica post-COVID-19. Members, we are happy to have them. It is a privilege for them to be here with us. And we are all encouraged to utilize their expertise to assist them in gathering data, analyze findings, present the findings of their studies, and make worthwhile and valuable contributions both to Parliament and to our constituencies. I want to welcome you most heartily on behalf of all of us here as members of Parliament, and trust that your stay with us will be worthwhile on both sides of the coin. Welcome to the Houses of Parliament. Statements by House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I hate to do this to you, but especially as we have our students here, we are operating without a quorum at this stage. $15. No, 16.
House Leader, I thank you very much. Can I ask someone to go downstairs? Captain, can you check the marshal? You know, it's a very telling sign when it is that we start Parliament and we are indeed the highest court in the land. And every week we implore members to come. On both sides of the aisle. It is not an indication of what happens on the government side or the opposition. It is a reflection on all of us as members of Parliament. And I really think that, so that, you know, they say sometimes when the press writes some things we get offended, but let me tell you, there's no need for us to get offended on this call because we've said it time and time again. It is the highest court of the land. And we are elected to represent the people, and this is our working time. People who work in the states and get paid for their work, even as we ask for more for constituency development fund and things. When you are being paid in the states, you go in and sign in, and you sign out. That is how you obtain your salary. It looks so bad.
Madam Speaker, the rule says that if at any time during a sitting of the House objection is validly taken by any member that there is not a quorum present, the person presiding shall direct members to be summoned, and if at the end of 5 minutes a quorum be not present, he shall adjourn the House.
Those are the standing orders. And I hate to say it, but the government has the majority of people in here, and we have a member who speaks this afternoon. I say very often that many people pay lip service to certain things, and this is something that I know the Prime Minister has spoken about and has asked that we get here and have Parliament start at 2 o'clock and do the business of the nation. We have until 2:20, and then we'll adjourn Parliament for the afternoon and the press. Ought to be parliamentary whips, you know, on both sides of the aisle. Parliamentary whip ought to be here. Members, I'm happy that the member from Central Kingston is here, but I don't have a smile on my face, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir, because usually the people who I'm looking at here on both sides of the aisle are usually here. The people, and I want to make particular mention, there are two ministers who are usually always here, so when they are not here, I know they have urgent government business. No, the Minister of Education is always there, and the Minister of Local Government is always here when Parliament starts. But the Minister is here, and I know the Minister of Culture, Gender, and the acting House Leader is always here, but she has a particular commitment that she could not be here because of it this afternoon. But I am sending a message to those who stroll in at odd times to say it is very poor. There are many people that when they are here for a short while, you hear their voices above everybody else. I don't know if it is to announce that they are finally here, but it looks bad. It is a poor reflection on all of us as members of Parliament. And when you have your colleagues also making a presentation, you should support them. And I'm very, I can't say it, I'm very disheartened by this type of behavior. And I know on our side we are going to do something. And member on your side, you're always here. Likewise, the two members that are with you. But like on both sides of the aisle, there are those people who stroll in at odd times for odd reasons, and their voices are usually louder than anybody else whenever they get in here. Very well. Statements by ministers. Announcements. Any announcements?
Laid on the table of the House today are the following: the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefits Special Selection, Nashville Housing Development Phase 2 and 3 Order 2022, and Annual Report on Audited Financial Statement of the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports and Education Fund for the year 2021-2022.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Most Honourable Prime Minister and Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefits, Special Selection, Nashville Housing Development Phase 1 and 2, Order 2020, which was laid on the table of the House on the 12th day of October 2022, be referred to the Regulations Committee of the House of Representatives for consideration and report. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move, whereas Standing Order 32C1 stipulates that the State of Constituency debate shall last no longer than 6 weeks, and whereas the 2022 to 2023 State of the Constituency debate commenced on September the 13th, 2022, and the 6-week period will therefore expire on October the 25th, 2022. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 32C1, the State of Constituency debate be extended until a date to be determined, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing order to enable me to take this motion.
Madam Speaker, the acting House Leader mentioned in the National Housing Trust, Nashville Housing Development Order Phase 1 and 2, but it's only Phase 2 we see tabled here.
Only Phase 2 what?
Only Phase 2 tabled here. Is it Phase 1 and 2 or just Phase 2 that this?
It's supposed to be Phase 1 and 2. Do we have Phase 1? We will try to sort it out.
Thank you very much, member. I don't want anybody to smile because it's a sad day and a poor reflection on us as members of Parliament. I really feel badly. It's almost like beating school children to get in here at 2 o'clock. We cannot start without a quorum. And when the Gleaner and the press write about us, we have to swallow it. Because there's no excuse for it. That is what we are elected and paid to do. Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business. And I can't hear myself now. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to sittings of the House. Motions for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House, first of day.
Madam Speaker, I now move to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Leprosy Repeal Act 2022. No, a presentation of bill.
Listen, I don't want anybody to crosstalk because, to be honest today, not across the aisle. We had a standing orders committee, and I want this Parliament to know that this court, this Parliament, is the highest court of the land. When we are in here, we are not on the political campaign, and we are not, and it looks bad.
Madam Speaker, a correction, instead of that act, it's really the Bill Act 2022. To have read a first time, shortly entitled the Bill Act 2022.
A bill shortly entitled the Bail Act 2022 read a first time.
Second reading. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bill. Madam Speaker, I further
public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing order to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier. Well,
The question, the suspension.
Members, the question before the House is that there's a suspension of the standing orders to allow the House, the member to take the motion in relation to the housing, the Nashville housing scheme, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I would just like the correction to be made that is only phase 2 that is being before us today. So I ask for the resolution to be approved.
Members, the question before you is that there's an amendment, and the resolution is that it is phase 2 only of the Nashville Housing Development Project that is before us. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, in relation to the extension of the State of the Constituency debate, I ask for the resolution to be approved at this time also.
Madam Speaker, I am concerned that the resolution is speaking to a date to be determined, which is really an open-ended situation, whereas these debates are supposed to be specifically timed to enable some amount of influence on the national budget. I would prefer if we get a date. When are we going to conclude these debates?
The truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, is that a number of persons who should have spoken on both sides have asked that it be deferred. And, well, I think, Madam Speaker, I would like to extend it to November 8th. So the extension is to November the 8th.
Member.
Tuesday,
please,
November the 8th.
Please.
Tuesday, November the 8th, Madam Speaker.
The 8th. Member, please. Member, please, there's a discussion. Member, I'm asking all of us. We had a very embarrassing situation this afternoon because there was no quorum in here, and we have spoken about it several times. And it is embarrassing when people waltz in after 2 and there's not a quorum to start. The leader of this party, the Prime Minister, has instructed us to follow the standing orders, and almost every week I speak about it. And indeed, this is the highest court of the land, and it ought to be that we treat it with the respect that the highest court deserves in every sphere. And it was very embarrassing this evening because I came in, we started, and had to hold to get members to come in. And it is not right.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, sir.
I've been coming in since 1983, 2002 till now. Yes. You came here after me. Have you ever seen me being late one day? You mentioned those who are not here at 2 o'clock. I am late because of reasons. There's a function with the premise, my constituency. And I think it's only prudent and respectful that I be at that function without in trust and out houses. So being here after 2 o'clock, it doesn't mean that I'm disrespecting the house. And secondly, looking around here, all I'm seeing here are those who have always been here at 2 o'clock. So it does make sense to chastise those who are here for those who are not here.
No, but
everyone I'm seeing here with me now are always here on time. So am I. I'm always here by 1 o'clock each day. And having said that there's
don't do that. Don't do that, member, please.
Don't you ever dare do that again. Don't you ever dare do that.
Member.
No.
Member, please.
Hold on.
Don't do that.
Anybody can say that to make it a quash lawyer. So don't you do it again.
Member.
Don't place a fit for a reference at the dump. Don't ever do that again. Disrespectful and rude. Don't you ever dare do that. Show some respect here.
Member. Member, I'm addressing you now, member. And you, member, I am now addressing you, member. Yes, you are correct. You came in late, So you did not hear me say that this evening when I spoke, I knew I was speaking to the choir, because the persons who were here are usually here. I mentioned some names, and I omitted to mention yours. Yes, it is true, you are usually here. But the fact that we have a set of people who are members who are always here does not reflect well on us as a parliament that we do not have a quorum. And you are correct that you, in particular, like the Minister of Local Government, like the Minister of Education, like the Minister of Culture, Gender, are always here. And on time. But, Mr. Member from St. Catherine, it makes it not any better that for any sitting of this Parliament, with the members that we have in this House, that we should not have a quorum to start. And yes, those people who I'm talking about who amble in long after, and their voices, I said, are usually louder than everybody else's. And it is not correct, and it doesn't look good, and this is not what we want to present as a parliament to the people of Jamaica. And it is not a laughing matter, because it is an embarrassment.
Madam Speaker, the State of the Constituency debate will continue today, and the main speaker will be the Honourable Homer Davis from St. James Southern. But before I do so, Madam Speaker, may I move that the Standing Order 32C3 be suspended to enable the member making his contribution during the debate on this motion to continue his speech for 30 minutes, notwithstanding the time limit on speeches. So I ask for that motion to be approved before we call on Minister Davis.
Members, the question is that the Standing Orders 32(2)C be amended to allow the member who is speaking this evening to speak for 30 minutes, notwithstanding the time noted in the standing orders. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I now call on the member from St. James Southern to do his presentation. Before you begin, member, I want to be guided by both House leaders. I know we spoke on the extension of the constituency debate, but I'm not sure that the motion was put to the House, was it? The report is not here as yet? For the motion for the extension of the constituency debate. No, it was not put. We discussed it. Did I?
Madam Speaker, I had asked for that motion for the extension of the constituency debate to be extended. The Leader of Opposition Business had asked for a date, a fixed date rather than open-ended, and I suggested we go to November the 8th.
Thank you, House Leader, but I did not. So members... Well,
if you could put it, and
yes,
then we
so
will...
members, the motion before the House is that there is an extension of the constituency debate to the 8th of November, 2022. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. Member from Southern St. James.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. It was Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Madam Speaker, it is my distinct honor and privilege to rise for a second time and give this honorable House an update on my stewardship as Member of Parliament for St. James Southern. Yes. An enjoyable and fulfilling journey which started on September the 3rd, 2020. Madam Speaker, as I continue the job of rebuilding St. James Southern with a sense of purpose, I pay homage to the wonderful citizens of this constituency for whom I am honored to represent in this Parliament, having received their mandate 2 years ago. Madam Speaker, rebuilding St. James Southern with a sense of purpose is off to a great start. And in presenting my report card to Jamaica today, I do so with an infinite sense of gratitude to every resident of the constituency. Madam Speaker, my team and I are on a mission to make St. James Southern a model constituency. Permit me, Madam Speaker, to pay tribute to our leader and Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, for the confidence he has entrusted in me by appointing me a Minister of State in the office of the Prime Minister with oversight responsibilities for the western parishes of St. Anne, St. James, Trelawney, Hanover, and Westmoreland. Madam Speaker, this is indeed a mammoth task, and I am assuring you, Honorable Prime Minister and Jamaica, that I am committed to this task, and with the support and cooperation of my team at OPM West, who are here in the gallery today, Madam Speaker, and the various stakeholders, we will deliver. In the same breath, I express thanks to the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie for the support he gave me while I served as Minister of State in the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Today, I proudly address this House and celebrate the achievements over the past 2 years, and especially over the last year, which have brought back pride, dignity, and respect among the citizens of the constituency. Madam Speaker, the fate of empires depends on the education of the youth. In the areas of education, Madam Speaker, it is a fact that over many years, and especially since 2020, I have been making great strides in improving the education standards of my constituents with a profound focus on the youth. Since 2020, COVID-19 has negatively impacted our students, and so I have been using the COVID era to retool and empower students and institutions in recovering stronger. Hear, hear. As Member of Parliament, I am proud that my report card will reflect that just last month, September, Madam Speaker, to be exact, in partnership with Digicel Foundation, the Ministry of Education, we officially opened a state-of-the-art smart room at the Anchovy Primary School, the first of its kind in St. James. Madam Speaker, it is my strongest conviction that we must develop the capacity of our citizens to take on the present and future technological boom. Yes. Madam Speaker, under my watch, no interested constituents will be left behind in the pursuit of skills and knowledge relating to information technology. Thank you. Let me, as a result of which, Madam Speaker, this multi-million-dollar smart room has brought joy and a sense of purpose to the teachers and students, some of whom are as young as 4 years old and are now involved in coding. Yes. Madam Speaker, this was a dream some weeks ago, but it has now become a reality for the students of Anchovy Primary School. Madam Speaker, I want to use this occasion to express a big thank you to the Digicel Foundation for the investment, which is not just an investment in the Anchovy Primary School, but an investment in the nation's future. Madam Speaker, I am on a mission to ensure that the youth of St. James Southern are educated using technology and the various modalities that are available. Madam Speaker, through strong representation to the Jamaica Social Investment Fund and through the Integrated Community Development Project, Phase 2, we have built safe school zone and green spaces at the Lethe, Roehampton, and Bickerstead Primary School, serving over 5,000 children and adults in these three communities. Recently, our kind partners, the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, assisted in the construction of a new lavatory block at the Lethe Primary School. Madam Speaker, I am happy to report that this has significantly improved the working standard of staff members of that institution. I am pleased to put on record that our tablet in school, Madam Speaker, continued during the year, and with the support of the Ministry of Education Own Your Own Device program, some 85 students received e-vouchers towards the purchasing of tablets valued at over $2.5 million. Madam Speaker, I must say thanks to the member from East Rural St. Andrew, the Most Honorable Juliet Olness, who had a wonderful time as the keynote speaker at the St. James Southern PEP High Achievers Award ceremony. Madam Speaker, at that ceremony, 108 students who performed exceptionally well in the PEP 2022 exams were presented with book vouchers and financial support totaling over $2.1 million. And Madam Speaker, I must say that this $2.1 million came from the private sector and not the CDF. In addition, the top boy and the top girl, whose average was over 390, received laptops from the Universal Service Fund. And the education support, Madam Speaker, did not stop there. Madam Speaker, as just last week, Saturday, October the 8th, we presented financial assistance to 38 tertiary level students drawn from across the constituency who are registered at universities, teachers' colleges, community colleges, and other tertiary institutions. Madam Speaker, I must thank my colleague from Central Manchester, Rhoda Moy Crawford, who was our special guest speaker at this event. Madam Speaker, she did get a taste of the love of the people of St. James Southern. This outreach program, Madam Speaker, was supported by the Constituency Development Fund with nearly $2 million. In addition, Madam Speaker, some $4 million were spent on book vouchers, which were distributed among 500 students ahead of the start of the new school year, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, who allocated an additional $3 million to the Constituency Educational Assistance Program. Madam Speaker, this allocation ensured that we were able to assist an additional 800 students, Madam Speaker, with back-to-school supplies, making their return to school this year a meaningful experience. Madam Speaker, education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope, and hope breeds peace. Yes. It is my belief, Madam Speaker, that an educated St. James Southern will be a confident and peaceful constituency. Madam Speaker, I can say big things are going in the constituency. As far as moving the residents along the technological superhighway is concerned, today I'm happy to report that the Universal Service Fund has installed a community access point in Katadupa, giving free access to over 3,000 residents, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, additional free Wi-Fi hotspot will shortly be installed in Maroontown, Roehampton, Mount Carey, taking technology to an additional 30,000 residents. Madam Speaker, Southern St. James was once a very quiet constituency. This has changed. Madam Speaker, within the last 8-9 months, there have been several shootings and murders in the constituency, which has robbed families of their main breadwinners. Madam Speaker, these wanton shootings and murders cannot be allowed to continue, and it is my view that enough is enough. Madam Speaker, just to give you a synopsis of how things are. Since the start of this year, Madam Speaker, up to the 26th of September, there were 26 murders committed in the constituency. Madam Speaker, 2021, the constituency saw 18 murders. So we can see the trajectory that the crime is having. Madam Speaker, enough is enough. And as Member of Parliament, I am prepared to do everything within the law and within my powers to help the security force to weed out the criminals from St. James Southern. Madam Speaker, the government has been supporting the fight against crime and violence. And while we still regret the lack of support from the opposition for the state of emergency, we have no choice but to push on. Yes. Let me remind this honorable House, Madam Speaker, that in 2018, the parish of St. James recorded 342 murders. And with the declaration of the state of emergency in early 2019, Madam Speaker, that figure was dramatically fell to 102 for 2019. Yeah. Madam Speaker, this speaks volume to the value of the effectiveness of the state of emergency. Not just in St. James. Not just in St. James, Madam Speaker, but across Jamaica. Yep. Madam Speaker, I'm happy to bring to this House that the Minister of National Security and our Deputy Prime Minister has broken ground for a new police station, the Anchovy Police Station, which, when completed, will become the hub for the force, for the JCF operation in that space. In addition, Madam Speaker, I would like to commend the men and women who served at the Cambridge, Anchovy, and Maroontown Police Station for their dedication and commitment to the fight against crime. And I can extend it also to, Madam Speaker, to the superintendent and his men and women of the St. James Constabulary and the St. James Jamaica Defence Force. Madam, I use this occasion to encourage my constituents to join the fight to make St. James Southern a safe place. This fight that we cannot afford to lose. Here are some simple things that you can do to help the process of crime fighting. Yes. I said to my constituents, tell what you know to the police or to someone who you trust. If you have been shielding or knowing or know someone who has been shielding criminals, shove them out. Yes. Stop washing the bloody clothes. Stop locking the guns on their behalf. Stop protecting these criminals, because soon and very soon, Madam Speaker, they will turn on you who normally protect them. Madam Speaker, commendations are in order for Minister Chang and the government to include senators for the work done in getting this new Firearm Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act passed in 2022. Madam Speaker, this piece of legislation will go a far way in curbing gun crimes, and I also want to thank the opposition for the support given, and I want to urge Jamaicans with illegal guns to take full advantage of the impending gun amnesty once it is announced. 15 years behind bars is not a joke. 15 years behind bars is not a bed of roses. Madam Speaker, unless we have all hands on deck reading from the same page and line and the same book, we will continue to be dodged by crime and violence. Yes. Madam Speaker, I am proposing that the Minister of National Security join forces with the Ministry of Education to rehabilitate a teacher's cottage at Niagara Primary School for the use of a police station to serve the southernmost part of the constituency. Bearing in mind, Madam Speaker, that the nearest police station from that local is between an hour and a half and 2 hours drive. Madam Speaker, I am also making the suggestion that government move swiftly to assign social workers to police stations. You may ask, what is the reason behind this suggestion? Madam Speaker, I have seen, and I'm sure that a number of us can attest to that, I've seen where small domestic disputes end up in 3, 4, 5, 6 murders. Madam Speaker, I am not sure that the police have the technical competence and know-how to moderate and to get these factions together so peace can prevail, Madam Speaker. So I am recommending, Madam Speaker, that we look seriously, because, Madam Speaker, social workers can and will win the trust of the citizens, especially the youth. Social workers are trained to reach youth before they fall into the wrong group of hands. Madam Speaker, social workers are not in the business of seeking votes or being popular, as in the case of an MP. And if the truth be told, some of us have not been able to gain the trust and confidence of our citizens. Madam Speaker, I know the member from Eastern Hanover had spoken about this issue. Some weeks ago, during a particular event that was convened by members from that side, a gentleman who I know very well, he goes by the name Biggerford. Madam Speaker, I just want to use this occasion to correct the former senior superintendent of police that I am Homer Davis, yes, and not Omar Davis. Madam Speaker, I guess my friend Biggerford has been so schooled by those on that side, he's unable to differentiate between Homer Davis and Omar Davis. Madam Speaker, my constituents are pregnant with anticipation to either work or drive on the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, for which ground was broken in July of this year. Madam Speaker, the long-awaited Perimeter Road will positively impact all 5 constituencies in St. James. And I dare say the greatest impact, apart from addressing the traffic congestion in Montego Bay, will be the employment of our citizens. In addition, Madam Speaker, work on the long-awaited Long Hill Bypass Road will impact Southern St. James in a major way. It is also expected to commence soon. And Madam Speaker, this project will open up several new communities development projects across my constituency. As I have said before, Madam Speaker, when I assumed the political leadership of St. James Southern, I inherited what could be described as the worst road network in the parish of St. James. In 2 years, Madam Speaker, I am proud to report to this Honourable House that major improvement has taken place on several roads across the constituency and has resulted in improved condition for the travelling public. But, Madam Speaker, a lot more is needed to be done, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm happy that the Minister with responsibility for works is here because, Madam Speaker, he and I have had several discussions. And I submitted a list of roads that the constituents are crying out for them to be repaired. Madam Speaker, the list of roads are as follows. Bickerstead to Mount Oreb via Richmond Hill, Orange Hill to Stonehenge, Marchmont to Catadupa to Lapland, Marchmont to Washfoot Gully, Welcome Hall to Mount Oreb, Cambridge Square to Duckets, Point to Flagstaff, Maroon Town to Springvale, Reading to Anchovy, Anchovy to Shetland via Mount Carey. Madam Speaker, we're looking at a tight sum. And the Minister has committed that he will do his best, that what can't be done this year will be done in next year's budget. All right. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I am one person who seeks help and assistance from other agencies of government. And so today, Madam Speaker, I'm happy to announce that the Leety Main Road is being funded by the Tourism Enhancement Fund to the tune of $35 million. Madam Speaker, agriculture. South St. James remains the breadbasket constituency of St. James. Madam Speaker, the farmers in southern St. James invest heavily in livestock production, the cultivation of crops such as bananas, vegetables, tubers, to include yam, dasheen, pineapple, making the constituency the largest producer of pineapple, bananas, and dasheen in Western Jamaica. Madam Speaker, we have supported several of our farmers with technical support, working with RADA, and have donated seeds, fertilizers, baby chicks, equipment, and other farm supplies. Madam Speaker, we were able to reach close to 200 farmers this year. Close to 200 farmers. Madam Speaker, Southern St. James, as I said, is the largest constituency in the parish. Represents 52% of that parish. Madam Speaker, there are thousands of hectares of arable lands. They are all idle, Madam Speaker. And I would say to the Ministry of Agriculture, if we are seriously looking at food security for Jamaica, we should identify some of these lands. And not just identify these lands, Madam Speaker, but to engage a younger generation of farmers. It is full time, Madam Speaker, for us to move decisively towards incentivizing agriculture in order to attract more persons in agriculture. By doing so, we can extend these young farmers, extend to these young farmers long-term lease on these lands at peppercorn rate. Madam Speaker, RADA knows the landscape, and I would recommend that a comprehensive study of the soil type in the area of southern St. James, and based on their findings, make these lands available to young farmers at peppercorn rate. Madam Speaker, and the reason why I'm emphasizing the whole question of young farmers, Madam Speaker, the cohort of farmers in my constituency is at an average age of 60 years old. And it is time to refresh, reset, and re-energize the sector by making agriculture more attractive, economically viable to our young people. Madam Speaker, I'll touch on job creation. While hundreds of my constituents are gainfully engaged in the agricultural sector, in the tourism sector, in the BPO sector, in the retail sector, there are other cohorts of citizens who have been using their creativity and drive to create employment for themselves and others. We are very happy with that development. However, southern St. James still has a challenge in areas of unemployment and unattached youth. Madam Speaker, contained in my rescue mission for these youngsters is a major training and empowerment program, a sustained focus on education, ramp up job creation, and training and development of the micro and small business sector. In supporting the government's pledge to create sustainable jobs at all levels, I will be engaging Art Thrust NSTA, the Management Institute for National Development, to develop an institute fit-for-purpose training program, which we are hoping will reach a wide cross-section of the constituency. We are moving to get youngsters trained, certified, job-ready to take up employment opportunities which will be opening up in the tourism, the BPO sector, cruise ship, overseas work program, and in the construction industry. Madam Speaker, I must use this occasion to say thanks to our hard-working tourism minister, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, who offered us the opportunity to get some of our constituents selected for a job in the cruise shipping industry. Madam Speaker, to say it was a success, it would be an understatement, Madam Speaker. We were able to identify some 185 persons from the constituency. Madam Speaker, of that amount, 160 of them were qualified to move on to the next stage, to do medical, to do the necessary paperwork. Madam Speaker, it is going to create a major change in the livelihood of the citizens of South St. James. Madam Speaker, water. Madam Speaker, the availability of a sustainable supply of water continues to be a challenge in St. James Southern.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the standing orders be suspended to enable the member to complete its presentation, notwithstanding the time limit on speeches.
Members, the question before the House is that the member be given sufficient time to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you. Madam Speaker, we spoke about climate change over and over and over. But Madam Speaker, rainwater harvesting could be what the doctor ordered to address the water crisis, not only in St. James Southern, but right across Jamaica. Madam Speaker, when it rains, it pours. During the rainy season, St. James Southern sometimes get more than its fair share. I am therefore encouraging my constituents to immediately get involved in rainwater harvesting. Madam Speaker, I will continue to work with the various state agencies with a view of getting support to assist residents who are facing challenges with getting the necessary infrastructure in place to facilitate rainwater harvesting. Madam Speaker, in relation to other water supply sources, I am happy to report, Madam Speaker, that Niagara Water Supply, a new tank was installed about 12 months ago, Madam Speaker. New water pipes is being installed as we speak.
Work in government.
And Madam Speaker, at the end of this installation, water will now beginning to reach over 1,000 citizens between Johnson, Niagara, Arcata, and those communities. Madam Speaker, this is a joint effort between the National Water Commission and the Rural Water Supplies Limited. Madam Speaker, the Cambridge water supply system is over 40 years old, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Cambridge treatment plant experienced high level of turbidity from its source whenever it rains, which resulted in the plant having to close the intake. Madam Speaker, I don't think there's a second source that NWC has in Jamaica that there's more turbidity affecting the free supply of potable water to the citizens as much as Cambridge do. Madam Speaker, the water is there, but there needs to be major infrastructure overall. Yeah. Madam Speaker, this system takes water to Shortwood, Cambridge, Duckets, Betheltown in Westmoreland, Plantation and Bickerstead in St. James. Madam Speaker, the Bandon Endeavour Welcome All water supply system, Madam Speaker, 10.5 kilometers of 150 mm asbestos cement pipeline from Endeavour to Welcome All, which was laid in the early 80s, we're talking about 40 years ago, Madam Speaker, is in disrepair and also need to be replaced. Madam Speaker, it's not only that it needs to be replaced. There was a study done some time ago that said that water that flows through asbestos pipe, there's a residue that flows from it that can cause cancer. Madam Speaker, we move on now to Tangle River Maroontown water supply system. Madam Speaker, the process has started, but it has come to a little halt. And I will be speaking to the relevant minister, Minister Samuda, to see how we can get this project going. Some $50 million has already been spent to procure the pipes which are in storage up by Marasco Road. Madam Speaker, what this new system will need, Madam Speaker, is the construction of a new pumping station and intake at Bottom Roper. Madam Speaker, the installation of a 50,000 gallon bolted steel reservoir, Madam Speaker, that was already done. Installation of new 100 millimeter pump main from new pumping station. Madam Speaker, when this project is completed, and based on discussion that I have had with the relevant agency, some $75 million will be needed to finish this project. But Madam Speaker, it's not only finishing the project. Madam Speaker, when this project is finished, the areas to be benefited is Maroon Town, Tangle River, Malden, Vaughansfield, Flamstead Garden, Summerhill, and Germantown. We're talking about 8,000 citizens, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm happy to report because up to Monday before I came into Kingston, I spoke with someone from the National Water Commission. JSIF had put out for tender pipe laying from Shetwood into Mount Pelion, into Mount Carey, into Anchovy. Madam Speaker, I'm proud to be informed that the procurement exercise has started for this project. Madam Speaker, on completion of this project, Madam Speaker, the citizens of Bickerstead, Mount Pelion, Mount Carey, York Bush, Anchovy, Roehampton, Lawson, those communities will be awash with water, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I spoke about the size of the community or the constituency. Madam Speaker, as it relates to fire units, Madam Speaker, and I've spoken about it on several occasions, but Madam Speaker, it is becoming more and more dire right now because we need to have a sub-fire station in Cambridge and one in Maroon Town, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to get from Barney Street Fire Station to Cambridge, Madam Speaker, is some 35 to 40 minutes drive, and that is Cambridge proper. To get to Maroon Town is a similar time period. Madam Speaker, this can't work. We need to make sure that we have first responders in these rural townships that can deal with immediate fire or deal with immediate emergencies. Madam Speaker, report coming out of the St. James Fire Department has indicated that since the start of this year, in my constituency alone, there were 41 fires, resulting in millions of dollars and damage. Madam Speaker, we speak about welfare. And Madam Speaker, COVID-19 has disrupted the lives of many of the constituents in St. James Southern. Indeed, the negative impacts are still being felt. As part of the rebuilding with a sense of purpose, my team and I continue to implement outreach projects which are aimed at teaching constituents how to fish rather than to be waiting on a fish. Under the welfare program in South St. James, we will be constructing 3 houses under the HOPE program for needy citizens. But Madam Speaker, those of us who are here, who are rural MPs and even urban MPs, can attest to it, that there are some families, Madam Speaker, who are legitimate property owners, whose homes are in need of repairs. We need to have a special window for these persons. The $2 million that we get for house repair, Madam Speaker, it is woefully inadequate. Madam Speaker, 20 sheets of 10-foot zinc, 10 pieces of 2 before 16, 10 pieces of 1 between 16, 12 sheets of Solitex, 5 pounds of zinc nail, 15 pounds of assorted nail. That is over 100,000. That's over $100,000, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I know that my modus operandi is no different from my colleague. So when we have this money, we have to elasticize the money. We have to elasticize the money. I have given individuals 40,000, and the truckman want 12,000 to carry the goods. Madam Speaker, we need to look at our housing stock. And Madam Speaker, you know, we are so blessed. We are so blessed because if Ian did come here, dog near my supper. Dog would have eaten our supper. Because, you know, us politicians, I mean, I have gone into houses and I can't step up on the step. I can't walk in the house because my 212 pounds won't be accommodated. So, it is something, Madam Speaker, that we seriously need to look at. Seriously. Because some of these residents, I know the irony of it, Madam Speaker, a great deal of them are senior citizens, you know. Senior citizens. And sometimes when I see them, believe me, I am a crying man. Sometimes tears come to my own eyes. Because I don't think these living conditions are fit for human to live in some of these circumstances. And so, Madam Speaker, if we can look at areas in which, as a member of Parliament, I don't even want to get involved in the selection because you're going to hear about corruption. You're going to hear about special. Put the necessary agencies into the communities. Right? Let them take the pictures. Let them do what they need to do and bring the recommendation to the appropriate agency. Yes. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I'll get to that. Madam Speaker, National Land Agency and Housing Agency of Jamaica are being encouraged to step up its land titling and distribution program in Copperwood and Red Ground in my own constituency, which will give legitimacy to landowners of whom want to use their land asset to improve their lives. But without a title, it can't work. Yeah. Madam Speaker, I'm not ashamed to say it. Title is what put me where I am today. Yes. I tell persons all the while that the only time that I saw my title was when I was handing it to the bank. I don't see it after that. I don't see it after that. So I use my asset as a springboard to educate my children and to build my own self. Madam Speaker, we continue to work with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in supplying the necessary assistance. And Madam Speaker, he's not here today, but the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Honorable Carl Samuda, has given us the opportunity to reach out to some people with cash grants. who do not fall in any of the safety net. This grant, Madam Speaker, was well received by those people. Madam Speaker, health care. I want to take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to thank all healthcare workers in the constituency who have been leading the fight against COVID-19 and other health challenges. Madam Speaker, the rehabilitation and expansion work are nearing completion on the Cambridge Health Center, where some $54 million is being spent to rehabilitate the center. Madam Speaker, a part of the expansion, Madam Speaker, is to create larger areas for pharmacy, create room for additional dentist chairs. Madam Speaker, you know, sometimes when I hear persons, and sometimes even on that side, who said that nothing now go on. Madam Speaker, if you look at Jamaica over the past 2.5 years, juxtapose it alongside many countries which have a much higher per capita income than what we have here in Jamaica. And Madam Speaker, in that 2 years that COVID has ravaged the economy of this country, this government never lay off one cent. Madam Speaker, some 350,000 Jamaicans were benefited through the government care program, and they are still now being there. Madam Speaker, I witnessed government in the latter part of the 60s. I witnessed government in the 70s. I witnessed government in the 80s. I witnessed government in the 90s leading up to 2007. And Madam Speaker, never in the history of this country there is ever a more caring government than this government. And Madam Speaker, what I admire about this government, the government that I'm a part of, the government that I'm committed to serve, Madam Speaker, is the Prime Minister level-handed how he does things here. I don't get more than him. I don't get more than my friends on that side.
Thank you. And they know it.
And Madam Speaker, if that is not good governance, Madam Speaker, and on top of that, there's a huge salary package negotiation that is now taking place. Huge. Madam Speaker, after coming out of a COVID, the government can find billions and billions and billions of dollars to satisfy our civil servants. They are well in need. The civil servants are well in need. They have worked under strenuous circumstances for years, and for that we must congratulate them. Some of them stood the course. They could have taken a flight out of Jamaica. In your time, they were encouraged to take 5 flights a day. But now, they can take 25 flights a day. But be that as it may, we must give credit to our civil servants, Madam Speaker, our doctors, our nurses, our policemen. Madam Speaker, service delivery in this country, and more so as a rural member of parliament, service delivery both from the private sector and from the public sector, it is atrocious.
Yes, true. We need
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, when I have a 85-year-old lady who, because of no fault of hers,
Yes.
an error was discovered on her NIS pension benefit, and you tell her that she's to get up from Niagara all the way to Montego Bay,
How far is that?
35 miles, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think a new thinking needs to take place. We need to look at how we give service to our people. Madam Speaker, we have police stations, we have health centers, we have RADA offices. Why can't we have days set aside for these agencies, whether it is the Water Commission, whether it is the JPS, whether it is the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, whether it is the Municipal Corporation? So they have days, established days, that they go into the community and deal with the people's business. So, Madam Speaker, when I walk in my constituency and a constituent will say to you, but Mr. MP, where may I vote for? Because anything I want, I have to go a man to go bare feet. For example, a man paying his property taxes. The property tax might be $2,500 and he has to pay $3,000 to go and pay that property tax. Madam Speaker, in my days growing up, there used to be a man walk around with a leather bag who collect property taxes. Right? Madam Speaker, we have police stations if there's fear. Madam Speaker, my constituency is the largest constituency in St. James. Madam Speaker, we only have one ATM machine, and it is in Anchovy, which is, you would have called Anchovy a sub area to Montego Bay. We need ATM machines.
The banks need to do that.
The banks need to reach out to the people, yes, Madam Speaker.
Yes, yes.
The banks need to reach out to the people. The people are the banks are not the people. The people are the banks are not the people, Madam Speaker. So I'm saying the banks need to look at how they deliver service, Madam Speaker. They need to look at how they deliver service. So, Madam Speaker, I am appealing, Madam Speaker, for the various. Look at Flow, for example, Madam Speaker. Look at Flow. Look at JPS. Look at JPS. A lady look at me and say, Mr. Davis, let me tell you the honest truth. I love you. I vote for your party from my eye there, my knee. So I ask her if she used to bogus vote. Right? So Mr. Davis, if an election is called, no, I'm not going to vote because I'm street light. Not working for the last 2 years.
She called them.
The pipes burst. The pipes burst, Madam Speaker, and it takes weeks to be fixed. Weeks to be fixed. And on top of that, they dig up the road. For example, in Anchovy, which is the main town, they dig about 3 areas. And Madam Speaker, that was done about 3 months ago. About 3 months ago, Madam Speaker. So I'm appealing to all the service providers, to look at how they service the public. Look at how they reach out to their customers. You can't ask a man in Cambridge to go downtown and pay a water bill for $3,000 and he has to pay $1,500 to go down to go pay that. That can't work, madam. And it's not everybody is all that technologically savvy to pay online. People still save money in a trade bag. People still save money under their mattress. So we have to understand Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, culture and entertainment. As Jamaica celebrates its 60th anniversary as an independent nation, plans are far advanced to place more emphasis on the annual Sam Sharp Day celebration. Madam Speaker, I'll be working with the Minister of Culture, Minister Babsy Grange, to improve the Sam Sharp Day celebration, which is held each year on the 26th of December. Madam Speaker, I'm still awaiting words from the Ministry of Education regarding the renaming of the Springfield Primary School as Sam Sharp Primary School, and this we are hoping will be done sooner than later. Madam Speaker, as I conclude this report, I will state the following, Madam Speaker. Southern St. James, under my watch, will become a model constituency. We are changing lives and impacting people in a transparent and unbiased manner. Madam Speaker, we will continue to make education of the citizens our #1 priority. Education has no color, and it is my firm belief that everyone, JLP, PNP, or no P, should be included in this process. Madam Speaker, we will continue to focus our energy on improving the water supply, electricity, and road infrastructure across the constituency. Madam Speaker, we will create training opportunities and jobs for the citizens. We are building a cohort of job-ready citizens who can become productive citizens in the working world. I will continue to support the farmers and create marketing opportunities for them, and I will be working to get more arable lands across the constituency in the hands of the youth for agricultural purpose. Madam Speaker, we will be redoubling our effort in the fight against crime. Jamaica is too beautiful for it to be destroyed by a few lawless persons. The gem must be returned to be the place of choice to live, work, and do business and raise families and retire orderly and peacefully. Madam Speaker, I could not end this presentation without giving thanks to the members of my constituency management team. My two sitting councillors, Everest Coke from the Maroon Town Division and Gregory Wynn from the Welcome Hall Division, as well as my two councillors caretaker, Clifford Bernard of the Catadupa Division and Javid Baker in the Cambridge Division. Madam Speaker, how could I close my presentation without saying thanks? Without saying thanks to my wife.
Of course, you have to.
And my children for their continued understanding in allowing me the necessary time and space to attend to the demands of my office, that of government, and my constituency. Madam Speaker, the work to build St. James Southern is far from over. My team and I remain committed to the task at hand to rebuild, to re-energize, to retool St. James Southern with an empowered group of citizens working for the greater good of our constituency and our parish and our country. Thank colleagues. Thank you, Madam Speaker. God bless this house. God bless Jamaica land.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the debate be suspended.
Members, the question before the House is that the constituency debate be suspended. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have.
Madam Speaker, it is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask for the House to be adjourned for a date to be fixed.
Members, the question before the House is the House to adjourn for a date to be fixed. Those in favour? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now adjourned.